Canada.
Hey, thank you so much for joining me today on the channel. And let's just start with a little introduction. If you'd like to share who you are, what your background is, your languages, and all of that.
All right. Well, I'm Jess. I'm originally from Quebec, Canada, which is a French side of Canada on the East Coast. So my native language is French. I kind of know English because it's a bilingual country. However, we learn, we don't learn English necessarily from home. Well, there is also some English speakers, native speakers in Quebec, but we can talk about that later. And then I'm currently learning Mandarin as my husband is from Taiwan.
Oh, he's from Taiwan. Oh,
Yes.
okay. You know, the Taiwanese we were just talking about from the other collaboration. Yeah, okay. So you already know a little bit about Taiwanese.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Is that what you're learning? Taiwanese Mandarin or
No,
Standard Mandarin?
I'm not learning the Taiwanese. I'm learning Mandarin, but I'm
Okay.
learning both traditional character and simplified.
Cool. Okay. And okay, yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay, well that's really nice too. I'm gonna add that in somewhere. But for your French, so what did it look like when you were learning like in Quebec the French school system, let's say, or the school system in general. So when you went, everything was in French, or you had like some English classes and some French.
Mm. Yeah, I think so. I can necessarily talk to the experience of like an English native speakers, like
Mm,
experience and through the school system. I know that it's kind of different, but from the French side of things, meaning you probably didn't grow up in the bigger cities, it's more like villages or small towns.
mm,
Um, Everything will be in French. And then we do have some English class. I'm not sure how it is now, but back in the day, um, for me, it started in high school. So it's kind of far, like within
mhm,
the school system curriculum. And like even in university, I feel like my English was not very good, and I even took some classes then. My mom is from New Brunswick, so New Brunswick does have bilingual everything. Everybody has kind of like Franglish or
okay.
accent, and then everybody will be bilingual on the day-to-day basis. So my mom had like a good, like I always look up to my mom a little bit. I was like, wow, my mom English is like great. Um,
Oh,
but then, I think while we growing up during Quebec, like her English, she didn't use it as much because most things are in French in the
okay.
village or towns.
And then, so you went to school like all of in Canada, is it structured pretty similarly to over here? I mean, of course, it's in French, but in the U.S., like K through 12, and then like to 12th grade, like high school, 9 through 12, and then college.
Not totally. We do
Okay.
have like preschool, and then we have six
Okay.
years of primary schools, and then 5 years of high school.
Oh.
Um, because we have something in between high school and university that would maybe resemble a community college,
Okay.
maybe in the United States, where you can either choose a 2 year or a 3 year program.
Hmm.
The like the 3 year program could be like a more specialized thing. So if you want to do a more specialized job that doesn't require a higher diploma degree from university, and then a 2 year program would be like a pre-university kind of program that usually you can choose like social science or just more like they call this natural science, which is like chemistry and like things that maybe
Okay.
you wouldn't need to go to med school or things like that.
Okay. So what did you do when you were over there? What
I
did you
did
do for
social
this degree?
science.
Social science?
Yes.
And would you share, please, what is your educational background?
Yeah, I went to university in sociology and went up to the master degree until I moved into United States for love.
Oh,
And then,
yeah, and it's, I mean, it's a nice move to, California. It's not a bad place to move to
oh
over
yeah,
here.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So and then so you have your you said sociology, right? Master's degree in sociology all the way.
I did finish it
Okay.
like moving here, anyways, there was like things about my
Mm-hmm.
supervisor not wanting to do long distance right up. So I had to like not complete it. Mhm.
Okay. So you're still working on it, or you kind of like you're gonna go
No,
back to it?
I think it went out of the window.
It's done.
Like,
It's done. It's okay. There'll be a new opportunity. There's gonna be something else to jump into. So
mhm.
it's all good. That's you don't
I
even
think
want
it's
to know
also
how many.
because I think back in the days I wanted to become a sociology teacher and this like pre-university programs. But the thing is, in here, my English wasn't good back then. Like when I met my husband, I don't even know how he fell in love with me because my
Oh,
English was really bad. So moving here, I couldn't even imagine myself still becoming a teacher because I didn't feel like I could express my ideas well. So like I wouldn't be able to have a specialized conversation around sociology. So I think that's one of the reasons why I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pause this and then figure out what's gonna be my life and then
yeah.
see if I
Okay.
can pursue it or things like that.
Okay. That's a good idea. Just gonna think it over. So your sociology degree then was that all in French or was that
It wasn't all in French, yeah.
all in French? Okay. Yeah, that's it's a little challenge. Like you went through and you learned all of this terminology and everything that is, new terminology even in your native language to go through with like any college degree, and then to have to learn all that again in another language. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because these are interests that you have all your lives really because. So now I'm trying to figure out how to read about sociology in Chinese,
Oh.
which is like another level of difficulty.
Yeah, that definitely would be. And learning Mandarin all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, um, what does your studying look like with you have uh, your English that you're working on with a little bit, it sounds like, with like the sociology background, like some of the terminology, maybe brushing up on it a little bit. You have your
Um,
Mandarin studies.
I feel like maybe my English is just like I'm just spending time learning English per se. Like I'm not doing flashcards or like I
Mhm.
think
Yeah,
English is
it's
just
beyond
gonna be
that.
like my
Yeah.
universe, and then I'm gonna grab things as I go.
Mm.
Even though maybe I should spend more time, and particularly sometimes I feel like vocabulary. Even though a lot of ACT words seems to be correlated to French,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. Um, and I think for me, it's also in the way you express yourself. I think the way you express yourself in French is for most English native speakers to whom I talk to, it feels too long or too dense, or like I need to kind of change the way I express myself, which
Hmm.
I'm always working on. And
Okay.
for Mandarin, definitely this is like more like almost like a full time study. Um, like it's my primary focus, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn everything I can.
And your Mandarin, you study all on your own? I mean, it's pretty nice that you have someone at home to speak with. That you have your
Oh,
husband
we
who
can
you can
talk
speak
about
with.
that.
Oh, okay.
For my Mandarin, I think I went through a lot of different phases. At the beginning of the pandemic, actually, my husband and I decided to take a sabbatical, and we were supposed to go in Taiwan, and I was supposed to study to learn Mandarin, like in a school over there. Actually, I was going to do like a quick, like intense learning with LTL Mandarin school there.
Oh, okay.
And then the pandemic happened, and then pretty luckily, I guess, because LTL was very fast into offering online classes,
Yeah.
and I kind of was already like knowing them, and then I tried to find other places, and then nothing was nothing was adapted to the online world learning yet. So I did a intensive program with them, it's like a semester long,
Okay.
and I was kind of
Online?
lucky because yeah,
Online. That's
online.
cool.
And then on my time zone, I was the only person. So I basically had a semester long program in 101 for the
Oh, wow. That's intense.
so I learned a lot. I basically think by then I only learned like HSK1 maybe material and if that. And I learned up to like HSK4. So it
Yeah.
was really intense, but I think it really gave me a great deep dive like deep dive
Mhm.
into what is this language and how I should organize myself and what am I capable of
Mhm.
as an adult learning a new language. You know, it's a bit different. And
That's
then
true.
since then, I think I just took everything I can to learn. I think the second year I really studied more the grammar.
Mhm.
From coming from my French brain, Mandarin is can be very difficult for me to approach because it's very context driven and there's like
Mhm.
compound verbs and it's just another space in my brain that I have to
Yeah.
open to because French is so rigid in terms of what can happen with verbs and
Mhm.
sentences and what cannot and all the exceptions. But every time I'm going to my
Mhm.
Chinese like teachers and I'm like, oh, so if you have to speak this way, then that means this is the only way. And it's like, oh no, you can just play with this. And I'm like, oh, what? I see. So
Huh.
I'm still learning a lot in this way.
Yeah, so you have all three of those. And Mandarin is your third language, right? It's these
Yeah.
three. Yeah. Um, okay. And then that's also because I'm thinking French is my third language, and it's it was still difficult because it's another language, but not so difficult because of its connection to Spanish, and
Yeah.
similarities with Spanish. But learning Mandarin was much more challenging because it's just completely different. There's nothing really to rely on to to train. Like, of course, you have like something just like any language can, transfer your abilities like reading, writing, listening, and speaking. They all have those elements in some way, but it's it's like learning. It's like learning a completely new language. It's
Definitely.
completely yeah, it's completely different from anything else, especially like from English and French. There's nothing to connect to, like with Spanish and French or any of the Romance languages. You can kind of guess, at least I can sometimes guess like structures from French, and sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes I can guess a lot of it. But with Mandarin, there's nothing there to really draw from.
Yeah. And I would say it doesn't mean that it's its most difficult point. I think for me, it came with a lot of freedom. And I think that
That's
freedom was difficult to approach because I was so used of all the exceptions and the
mm,
rules. But once I got used to the freedom, I'm still
mm,
getting used to it.
mm,
Um, I think it just provides a place to play with language that
oh,
I've never really had. And
yeah,
I think I'm really, really appreciating that from the language and understanding how context changes. And I feel like the Mandarin for me is really related to the dynamics of relationships you have around you and what's going on. And it makes me feel very present when I
oh,
speak Mandarin in ways that I've never really felt before. It's like two different
hmm,
mode of beings almost.
huh. Isn't that cool how like you speak another language and it's like adding another personality. We multilingual people have multiple personalities. We have like for each language because it's so difficult to describe really in any other way. When you're speaking another language, it's not like, oh, I'm just saying my thoughts in this language. It's like, no, it feels like this in this language. But
Yeah,
it's really
definitely. There's
cool.
a different atmosphere, maybe.
I think so too. I'm really excited now what you were describing there. When I get to a higher level of my Mandarin and I can actually start using it a bit more to feel it out. It'll be yeah. I'm really excited. It's the way you described to get
You'll have
into that.
fun for sure.
Yeah, get a little ways to go, but your level of Mandarin. You said you're about HSK 4, right?
Yeah, I just give 4. I wouldn't
Approximately.
say I would just give 5. I think I'm like in between.
Okay, you're
That's
all
a
right.
thing though. I didn't I because like I told you my husband is from Taiwan.
Mhm.
So I studied like both HSK materials and then Taiwan's materials, which is different. They
Mhm.
don't use the HSK curriculum. They have their own ways of approaching language learning and curriculums. Um, and then for me, I think I played a lot with like straight up from the beginning, I listened to a lot of Mandarin through TV shows. Um, And in my mind, like I know that like at the beginning I learned a lot of vocabulary and I did a lot of flashcards and I was handwritten because this is the way my brain works and it's
Mhm.
helpful for me. But then at some point, I think for me it was more helpful to be exposed to vocab through
Yeah.
native content.
Okay.
So then I just watched a lot of TV shows and learning from them and learning the context from them.
Mhm.
And that was the most helpful thing I've done, I think, for myself. Um, I know we all have different ways to learn.
Yeah.
And I think I really found my sweet spot in
Oh.
how to just be exposed constantly and just be
Mhm.
reminded through content versus just always going back to my flashcards or
Yeah, it's
things
nice to
that
have a
I go
balance.
yeah, my brain just go to autopilot and
Oh.
then I just don't learn anymore. I'm just like doing the thing because I know,
Sometimes it
what's
gets like
coming.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why it is good to have that balance because it's nice. You really need a little bit of both. You know, you need a lot of the immersion-based learning, and then sometimes you really need there's some things that you just need to
just
drill. You
sit
just need to
down.
like
Yes.
just yeah, you just need to sit down and just get it done.
Yeah.
But no one wants to live that way all the time. But just sit down and
Yeah.
be like,
Your brain
oh.
needs a rest too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's really useful too. I've been doing it with my French, actually, like different French movies, French music, all the French things. It's at that level where I can understand quite a bit,
That's
and
nice.
Mandarin not as much, but it really does help. It has helped me a lot as well. So, are you learning, or did you learn Pinyin? Did you learn any Chuyin, or just
No. Uh, I, from my understanding, I might be wrong, but like I think Juin or even Bopomofo, you can kind of learn them from Taiwan, in Taiwan, if you started in Taiwan. If you buy books in Taiwan, you can have them with Juin.
yeah,
But if you learn from outside of Taiwan, I have the feeling that everything is going to be pinyin. And
for the
actually,
most
it's
part,
really
yeah.
difficult to find a Taiwanese
Mm.
teacher that would have even traditional character-based material. So that's why, I had pinyin and then I started simplified, but then to text my
Yes.
family, like my husband's family, it's all in traditional. So I was always kind of immersed and having to break my brain multiple times so I can
Mm.
finally be kind of bilingual in the writing system.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like, okay, first you learn basically the code, right, to learn the language, to learn the characters, then you learn the characters, and then you learn the different sets of characters, the traditional and the simplified, and then you learn the language, and then
Yeah.
yeah, it's complicated. But let's continue this conversation over on Instagram.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much for being over and sharing all of this information and talking about your French Quebecois background and your
Mm.
Mandarin studies and all of the different language things here.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you. And let's head on over to Instagram. For those of you guys watching this, the part two will be over on Instagram. It'll be live by the time it'll be on my feed by the time this comes out. It'll be recorded. And that is part two over there. Okay. Bye, Jess.
Bye. Bye, Sarah.